Miles Morales' family just got a whole lot bigger, and he's going to need all the help he can get if he ever hopes to overcome the phantom forces waiting in the shadows to tear him apart. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 20 and find out together, shall we? So then, as we begin this brand new arc, Miles is taking some very much needed downtime at his family's brand new apartment. Now that the threat of the rabble and the Cape Killers has seemingly ended, Miles is ready to get back to basics, but of course when you're a spider superhero, your life is rarely ever just that. You'll remember at the end of that last arc, Miles had actually seen fit to have his family adopt Shift, his clone. And wouldn't you know it, but Jefferson, Rio, and even baby Billie absolutely love Shift, and I mean, why shouldn't they? He's just Miles, just a little bit more non-verbal and a little puffier. Honestly, having a Spider-Man actively adopt his clone is kind of a brilliant choice, and it makes me stop and wonder, geez, Peter, if you had just done this with Ben like 30 years ago, you could have saved yourself and by extension the reader so many headaches. Having an extra pair of hands around the house is also really good for Miles' parents, who feel comfortable enough to actually go on a much-deserved date night, leaving the boys to take care of their younger sister. Why, they even have a fun outing planned. Today just so happens to be the start of a major art festival on the block, meaning that the Morales brothers and sister are going to have something fun to do. Miles and Shift even end up meeting up with Miles' friends, Kamala and the returning Ganke, who himself even admits, geez, I feel like I only ever see you at school, and it's true. He hasn't been in the book for like ever. Ms. Marvel, you'll actually remember too, was the one who was teaching Shift not only to speak but to also control his own very similar embiggening powers. They even call themselves the Embiggening Bros. It's all actually very sweet too, because Shift didn't want to come out today because he fears being judged looking like how he does, but again, this is New York, so he just puts on one of those fishing hats and no one ever bothers to look at him twice. Man, hoodie and fishing hat is totally this generation's version of fedora and trench coat, am I right? The festivities, as they often do, end up getting crashed by a group of criminals. It seems that Black Obsidian, that weapons dealer who was working for the rabble, has decided to move into the realm of art theft. This guy was easy enough for Miles to take out on his own, and when joined with Ms. Marvel, they make incredibly quick work of this guy. The real story, though, is that Shift manages to get out of his own head long enough to save a guy from getting crushed by falling debris while also still carrying baby Billie around with him. The guy's reaction is the best ever too, and he says, "Thank you, Swole Spider-Man, and thank you, little baby with Swole Spider-Man." Now, believe it or not, that's basically where the main Miles part of this story comes to an end, but it's not the end of the comic because we get the opportunity to check on in with Hightail. She's now free of Agent Gao and the Cape Killers, and it seems that she's moved back on in with her grandmother and is trying desperately hard to keep her nose clean. Unfortunately, she picked a bad time to try and start going down the path of the straight and narrow because, as you'll know from reading all the other Marvel books right now, the sun is gone and vampires are trying to take over the Earth. Luckily for Hightail, though, she still very much has a deep-seated connection to Ramir, an energy vampire who will no doubt be playing a part in the ongoing events of Bloodhunt, but for that we'll have to check back next time. And so that was Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 20, everybody. A fun and enjoyable little palate cleanser issue from the much more serious arc ender that, while I had a lot of fun with, I wouldn't necessarily call it required reading. Well, unless you're a Shift fan, Shift ends up coming away from this looking really good, and Cody Ziegler promises that he's going to be part of the status quo moving forward. And honestly, I think that's great, especially considering that when this new Cody Ziegler run started, a lot of people were worried that he might forget about Shift or let him fall by the wayside, but in reality, that's the opposite of what happened. Shit, Shift even showed up in that Greg Weisman Spider-Man book, showing that Shift actually does have a superhero life outside of just Miles. I can't believe the character is so new, and yet already they're learning so much from the past mistakes of other Spider-Man clones like Ben. Next up, of course, we have Bloodhunt tie-ins, but I think that this Miles book is actually going to end up being kind of important to that story, because I think the implication is that Evil Blade has actually managed to turn Miles against the other heroes, meaning that Hightail, this new original speedster courtesy of Ziegler, might actually end up being our main POV hero, which if that is the case, it's actually pretty cool how they planted the seeds of this character and are letting her grow now. Overall, I think I'd feel comfortable giving this one a 7 out of 10. It's a nice little one and done. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quests. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.